Okay, this is Professor Hazara again, guess who? And this is the third video regarding basically bonds payable, which is like it's your ultimate long-term liability. In the first video, you'll recall we went over the time value of money. In the second video, we went over a discount bond. And now we're going to go over a premium bond, and I've left the video partially blank. I'm not going to get into as much detail as on the discount bond, but the concepts are exactly the same, but in reverse. Okay, we'll be using the same basic data. Let's assume here that the face value of your bond, the amount you're going to pay back at the end of the bond term, is $100,000. Now, for a premium bond, remember the rules I gave you. Remember the rules I gave you over here, that if the yield rate is less than the nominal rate, that means you have little risk. And that means the market is actually going to reward you for being a good risk. Okay, so they're going to give you more. It's kind of like a credit card in a sense. Think of it like that way. You get, if you're good risk, they'll try to give you some sort of discount on purchases and that sort of thing. Okay, we're going to have a yield rate of 3% here. Okay, and we're going to have, I'm going to make sure that's coming up. I'm just going to go 0.03. Sometimes it doesn't count. Okay. And then we're going to have the same nominal rate, 0.05. Notice that unlike the other video, the discount bond video, I have set this, yield rate to be less than the nominal rate. So we should get a premium on this bond. Okay, and the term, like the last example, is going to be 3 years. Okay, so we're going to calculate the price of the bond. I'm going to put present value of cash flow out here, and it's going to be the same concept as in the other video. Okay, so let's start with the amount of cash you get. Remember that the amount of cash you get is always based on the yield, what I'm saying, on the nominal rate. So we're going to take 100,000 times 5%. That'll give me 5,000 again. So that hasn't changed because we have the same face value, the same nominal rate. So I'm just going to repeat that equation here. Okay, and I know that I could copy this down, but I'm going to emphasize that for each of these, it's the face value times the nominal rate. So face value times the nominal rate here. And finally, your final payment is equal to $100,000. Okay, so the price of your bond, the price of the bond, it is going to be based on a 3% rate rather than a 7% rate. So let's see what we get for our discount factors. Okay, the discount factor, like I said over here in the bond, in the discount bond sheet, is the discount factor is based, I'm just putting out here to note this, is based on our formula. We will be taking, in essence, we're going to take, like we did, 1 over 1 plus r raised to the t, but then we multiply times the cash. That's equal to the amount. Okay, this is the way it's generally done, though. Okay, so our factor for the first year is going to be 1 divided by 1 plus our yield rate, which is not 7% anymore, it's 3%, and we're going to raise it to the number of years, 1. Okay, and then for the second year, I know I could copy this down, but I'm being detailed about it. For the second year, it's going to be 1 divided by 1 plus. Yeah. Okay, just a minute. Thank you for telling me what I already know. Okay, plus the yield rate raised to the 2. Notice they're going down again. Always happens. Then this one is going to be 1 divided by 1 plus the yield rate again raised to the 3. So I'm raising them just to the years. And then this final one is going to be the same as the previous one because they're both cash flows at the end of the third year. But I'll just do 1 divided by 1 plus the yield rate, which is 3%, raised to the 3. Okay, notice that these factors, this is just a side note, notice that those factors are higher than these factors for the discount bond. And the reason for that mathematically is that we're discounting in the denominator by a lesser yield rate. So this means that these $5,000 are worth more. The lower the yield rate, the more your present value of the cash flow can be worth, because you're dividing by a lesser number. Here it's 3%, before it was 7%. Okay, so let's go ahead and multiply these out and see what our values are. That gives you, do this again, is equal to 5,000 times the factor, gives us 48. I'm just going to go ahead and copy those down because that formula is so simple. So there's a present value of our cash flows, and I'll just show you that all these formulas are based on just the present value of the cash flows are just the cash times the factor. Okay, so I'm just sort of going through these and showing you that. Okay, and notice that go back to the cash, that each one of these amounts right here is the 100,000 times the 5%. That holds true for any one of them. They're all the same basically. And even the 100,000, well, the 100,000 is equal to 100,000, which is equal to, you'll see C2 right there. And then finally, as factors, notice the difference. If I scroll down, notice the only difference is the amount that I'm raising this to. I'm actually going to change this so that it's equal to that right there. You get the same factor right there. Yeah, and that's correct. Okay, so our price is going to be, it's basically the value of all the cash flows that we're paying out here. So the price that we get for this bond, is the sum of all our cash flows, and that's equal to the sum of each of these 5,000 and that 100,000. Okay, so the sum of all our cash flows is 105,657. And this is the amount, I'll put these in bold, this is the amount that you're going to get for the bond. So in this case, you're going to pay back 100,000 like you did in the other example, but you're going to get upfront 105,000. So over here, you paid back 100,000 at the end. Notice you paid back 100,000 at the end, but you only got 94,751. Over here, you're going to pay back 100,000 also, but they're going to give you upfront 105,000. So let's go down to the amortization table, and you should know that this is the table that all the numbers are taken from. Just like in the other example, your carrying value is the price of the bond. Your initial carrying value is the price of the bond, no exceptions. The equations are going to be the same for everything, so let's go ahead. Okay, so your interest expense is going to be the previous year's carrying value times the 3% yield rate. Okay, your cash is going to be equal to basically $5,000 for year one. The change in the carrying value is still going to be the interest expense less the cash. Now notice that's a negative. Notice that's negative, and it's appropriate that the change is negative because in this example we're going to work from the 105. We're going to be subtracting out the change, and we're working down toward the face value. Okay, so this is going to be equal to 105, and we can do plus again. In a sense, we can do plus, and it's a negative. So our new carrying value is something isn't wrong there. Actually, I should do. There's an error in the formula, so let me change this for a second. That minus that. Okay, that's better. Okay, so the new carrying values, you have 105. You're going to take 1830 out of the premium, so your remaining carrying value is 103,826. notice that it's going down, and it's going to be going down toward the face value. Okay, let's go back and do it again. Our interest expense is the previous year's carrying value times your yield rate. So there's your interest expense. Good, it matches my number. You could obviously copy this, but I'm going through it in detail. Your cash is always going to be the face value times the nominal rate. The only thing you use the nominal rate for is to determine your cash. Excuse me, times the nominal rate. I took it times the wrong amount. So it's 100,000 times the nominal rate of 5%. Okay, so the change is equal to the interest expense minus the cash. So now you're going to take 1885 out of your current carrying value. So your carrying value is 103,826, and add it because you're adding a negative, so you're really subtracting that out. And your new carrying value is 1,941,101,941.75. Okay, and to finish this up, your interest expense is the previous year's carrying value times your yield rate. We'll go up here of 3%. That's your interest expense. Your cash is always going to be equal to 5,000, which is 100,000 times the 5%. Okay, and the change is obviously going to be negative again. Is going to be your interest expense plus, excuse me, minus, it's not a negative, minus your 5,000. So your carrying value is going to go down by 1941.75. Okay, so you can see that if we take the previous year's carrying value and add back, which is really negative, a negative 1941, we end up with a final carrying value of 100,000. So our table is correct. If your table ends with a carrying value, the final carrying value is equal to the face value, you're right. You're doing just fine. Okay, now we go to our bond entries, and we're going to take all the entries like we did in the other example from this amortization table. Let's start. Let's start with the entry at time period 0. Let's number these. This is time period 0. This is going to be time period 1. This is going to be time period 2, and this is going to be time period 3. And the final entry is also going to be time period 3. Okay, and we'll see how this is affected by the balance sheet, how this affects the balance sheet. Okay, so initially, we're going to get cash equal to the price of the bond. It's always true, of 105,657. So you're getting more cash than you asked for. You asked for 100,000, they're giving you more. Okay, our bond payable, you're always going to put in there the face value, the initial face value of 100,000. And now, since we're actually writing the premium up, this is going to be a credit. So what we're going to do, because we're adding to the face value here. Okay, so the premium on the bond is going to be that carrying value less the face value, or as you can tell, let's see, is equal to, I did that wrong, equal to 105,657 minus face value, which is 100,000. That gives you 5,657.22. And notice how that affects the balance sheet. Okay, the balance sheet is going to work through here. Okay, so balance sheet right now shouldn't show you year 1. Okay, but it really doesn't matter because it'll change anyway. So as of year 1, or as of time period 0, your carrying value is equal to the sum of a bond premium plus the bonds payable plus the premium, or 105,657.22. And I'll let you look at these formulas, but they're just coming from the journal entries. I don't always take them from the journal entries, so they may not, but I try to take them from the journal entries. And so it's, if you take the 100,000 plus your premium, your carrying value is 105,657.22, and that's equal to the initial carrying value on your amortization table. Okay, now let's come down here and notice the bond payables are all the same, but they change as we go along. So your interest expense for year 1 is equal to 3169. Your cash for year 1 is equal to that 5,000. And I'm just taking numbers from the amortization table, which you should already know the formula for. And then all these debits to, these are debits to a premium on bond payable. Notice that this is a credit. However, so that means that to drive it down, to whittle it down, so to speak, we're going to be debiting that amount for the change. So this is going to be equal to negative, because we don't want that negative in there. 1838.28. So you end up with a carrying value of 103,826.94. So notice that the carrying value on the balance sheet is also equal to the carrying value on the amortization table. So let's go down a little bit. Okay, now we come to the interest expense for year 2. The interest expense for year 2, go to the year 2 row. Year 2 row says you have interest expense of 3114. Your cash for year 2 is equal to 5,000. And the premium, the change in the premium, that's really the change in the premium, is equal to, I'm putting a negative because you can't have a, I want to make sure I do this right, this should be over here, is equal to a negative amount because that changes it to a positive. So there's your entry. And notice that your new carrying value, let's move this up just a little bit so the lines correspond anyway. So let's just go ahead and move this up. Okay, so your balance sheet, let's put a row in there. So your new carrying value is 98. No, that doesn't make any sense. So our carrying value is okay, is equal to 101,941.75. I think there was an error in that. That's correct because, I don't know it's correct, because it's equal to my my end of year 2 carrying value of 101,941.75. Okay, and then finally, our carrying value for year 3, let's make sure we don't, is you have your interest expense of that amount right there, 30.58. The premium on our bond payable, these are all debits, by the way, because we're whittling down a credit. We're going to go ahead and this will be equal to a negative amount. So that's our premium. And then our cash is going to be equal to the cash for year 3. Okay, and you'll notice that the last year's carrying value, you had a premium of 1941.75 going into year 3. In year 3, you wrote off 1941.75, so you end up with a balance sheet total. I'm just going to move it up to be consistent here. You end up with a balance sheet total of 100,000. You've whittled down. You've gotten rid of your premium. You started with a premium of 5,657, took out 1830, and that gives you a new premium of 3826. So you've got a decrease in carrying value. It's still, they're both credits, and I'm going to emphasize this. These are both credits, but you're adding to the $100,000 credit. All three things are credit, but you're adding a shrinking premium to the $100,000. So all these things right here are credits. And then, I know 0 can't be a credit, but, I'll just put it down here. Okay. And then the final journal entry that you have to make is you have to pay off this $100,000 bond payable. Okay. So I'm just going to say 100,000 here. I'll just put it in. And then obviously cash goes out. And your final carrying value is bond payable is 0 and premium is 0. The concepts I all went through, the same concepts of face value, yield rate, nominal rate, and term, I all went through in the discount video, which took a little longer. This one took a little shorter because I already had it set up. And also the main thing to notice is that when the yield rate is less than nominal rate, you get your price is greater than the face value. I talked about that in the last video, but that held true here. And given that anomaly, notice that the carrying value starts at an amount that is higher than the face value. So you have to work down rather than up, which is the discount based scenario. So in the premium scenario, you're working down toward 100,000, whereas in the discount video, we're working, go back up here, up from a lesser price toward 100,000. Okay, and then finally, here's your premium bond. And I think this should more or less give you the basics of bond accounting. And that's what we'll concentrate on in the videos. Okay, and what am I saying? In the My Business Course homework. I'm going to go through the assignments in the My Business Course homework and make sure they more or less correspond to this, or that they're easily obtainable from the book. Okay, there may be one or two things, but they should be stuff that you can read about. But I do want to concentrate on, I want you to concentrate on time value of money, discount bonds, and premium bonds. This thing, parts of this are the interface between accounting and finance. Especially, this is how you use time value of money. That's a concept that you're going to get into the mathematics of time value of money when you get into your finance courses. This is an accounting course, so I'm not concentrating on it. Anyway, I hope everybody's staying well. I'll be putting up these videos before the end of Sunday. Okay, thank you very much. Notice it only took me 21 minutes. I kept my word on that. Okay, so thank you very much, and I'll be in touch. Bye-bye.